Young billionaire sees poor little girl in the rain pushing a wheelchair and says, "Why are you on the street?" She says, "I need to save my mom." Upon looking at the woman, he is shocked. The rain fell hard on the deserted road, creating a curtain of water that reduced visibility to just a few feet. Liam Cordell kept his eyes fixed on the asphalt, gripping the wheel of his black BMW tighter than necessary. The digital clock on the dashboard read 11:15 p.m. Too late for someone with a meeting scheduled for 7 the next morning. "Damn storm," he muttered to himself, adjusting the windshield wipers to maximum speed. The winding road that led to his secluded mansion in the hills was dangerous even on sunny days. In this rain, it became a challenge. But Liam Cordell wasn't a man who backed down from challenges. That wasn't how he had turned his father's small company into a billion-dollar empire. His cell phone rang, and the name Richard Klein, attorney, appeared on the car's integrated display. Liam sighed before answering. "Go ahead." "Mr. Cordell, the Chinese are adamant about the intellectual property clauses. They're threatening to back out of the deal if we don't make concessions. We're not giving up anything else," Liam cut in sharply. "If they don't sign by tomorrow, reach out to Yamamoto Industries. The Japanese have been begging for this partnership for months." "But sir, this could delay the entire project." "Just do as I say, Richard." He ended the call without waiting for a reply. Silence returned to the car, disturbed only by the rhythm of the wipers and the drumming of rain on the roof. Cordell Enterprises was his greatest pride. In 12 years, since his father's death, he had transformed the family business into a global powerhouse. His face had graced the covers of major business magazines, and his personal fortune grew each quarter. A flash of lightning briefly illuminated the road, followed by the roar of thunder. Liam slowed down even more, straining his eyes to see the path. That's when his headlights illuminated something on the shoulder, a figure moving slowly in the torrential rain. "What the hell?" he murmured, instinctively slowing down. As he got closer, the scene became clear. It was a child, a small girl, soaked by the rain, pushing with difficulty what looked like an old wheelchair. In the chair, there was a woman who seemed unconscious. His first instinct was to keep going. It wasn't his problem, probably some local family caught in the storm, or maybe homeless people. That's what social workers and charities were for. But something about the image of that child, struggling to push the chair along the muddy road, made him hit the brakes. The car stopped a few feet ahead. In the rearview mirror, Liam saw that the girl continued on her way, as if she hadn't noticed the luxury vehicle. "Damn it," he grumbled, grabbing the umbrella from the passenger seat. As he got out of the car, the wind nearly tore the umbrella from his hand. The rain hit him sideways, soaking his designer pants and ruining his Italian shoes. He walked over to the girl, who finally stopped when she saw him approaching. Liam knelt before her. Water streamed down the child's face, mixing with what could have been tears. "Why are you out on the street?" he asked, raising his voice to be heard over the storm. The girl looked up. Even in the heavy rain, her determination was evident. "I need to save my mom," she replied, with an urgency that broke Liam's heart. He turned to look at the woman in the wheelchair. Her frail body was covered by a thin, completely soaked coat. Her face, partially hidden by wet strands of hair, was tilted to the side. As he gently pushed the hair away to get a better look, Liam was shocked. His entire body froze, as if he had been struck by lightning. The air left his lungs, and a cold that had nothing to do with the rain ran down his spine. It was Ariel, his older sister. Thinner, paler, visibly ill, but unmistakably Ariel. The sister he hadn't seen in 12 years. The sister he had cut ties with after their father's death. As if feeling his gaze, Ariel slowly opened her eyes. When she recognized him, an expression of disbelief crossed her face, followed by something that looked like anger and resentment. "Go away, Liam," she said in a weak but firm voice. "I don't want anything from you." The little girl looked confusedly from one to the other. "Do you know each other?" Liam could barely process what was happening. His sister, once so strong and determined, now reduced to this state. And with a daughter, a niece he didn't even know existed. "What happened to you?" he asked, ignoring the hostility in her words. It's none of your business, Ariel replied, trying to sit up straight in the chair, but lacking the strength. Ellie, let's go. The girl, Ellie, his niece, Liam realized with a jolt, hesitated, looking worriedly at her mother. But Mommy, you can't. You're too weak. We don't need his help, Ariel insisted, though her body trembled visibly, contradicting her words. Liam felt a wave of conflicting emotions, shock at seeing his sister in such a condition, guilt for knowing nothing about her life for the past few years, genuine concern for the fragile state she was in. Ariel, please, he begged, surprising himself with the softness in his voice. Let me help. I can take you to the hospital. I've never needed your help, she answered bitterly. Not when our father died, not when Robert died, and not when I got sick. Why would I accept it now? Each word was like a direct accusation, and Liam knew he deserved it. He hadn't been there for any of those moments. He had chosen the company, power, money, all of it over blood ties. The rain continued to fall mercilessly. Liam noticed the little girl was shivering, hugging herself to try to stay warm. Don't be stubborn, he said, trying to stay calm. Look at the two of you. You won't get anywhere in this condition. Ariel tried to respond, but was interrupted by a coughing fit. Her frail body shook, and for a moment, Liam feared she might pass out again. Seizing the moment, Ellie grabbed Liam's arm with her small hands. Please, her eyes, so much like Ariel's when she was young, pleaded. Don't let my mom die. Those simple, desperate words hit Liam like a punch, the genuine plea in the child's eyes, the palpable fear in her voice. It was impossible to ignore. I won't let her, he assured, with a firmness that surprised him. I promise. He turned back to Ariel, who was now watching him with a mixture of resignation and suspicion. I'm taking you to Cedarwood Memorial. It's the best hospital in the region. I can't afford that, she muttered, revealing the wounded pride behind her resistance. I can, he replied simply. And I will. He waited for the refusal, for the pride that had always characterized his sister. But instead, he saw Ariel look at her shivering daughter beside her, and something in her expression changed. All right, she finally conceded, but only to the hospital. Without wasting time, Liam moved behind the wheelchair. I'll get you to the car. It's just a few feet from here. As he pushed the chair along the muddy shoulder, with Ellie walking silently beside him, he got a better sense of the equipment's poor condition. The wheels creaked with every turn, the rusted metal threatening to give way at any moment. It was clear they had found the chair abandoned somewhere, a thought that made his stomach churn. When they reached the car, Liam opened the back door and carefully helped Ariel out of the wheelchair. He was shocked at how light she was, as if she weighed no more than Ellie, nothing like the strong, healthy sister he remembered. The chair, Ariel mumbled as he settled her into the back seat. Leave it here, Liam suggested. I can buy you a new one, better than this. No. The response was surprisingly firm. We need it. It took us 3 days to find one. Liam felt a lump in his throat. 3 days searching for a discarded wheelchair. His sister, who had grown up with every comfort money could buy, reduced to this. All right, he agreed, trying to keep his voice steady. Cycle put it in the trunk. After settling Ariel, he helped Ellie get in on the other side. The girl immediately moved closer to her mother, holding her hand tightly. In her eyes, there was a mix of fear and hope that seemed far beyond her years. Liam went back to get the wheelchair. He tried to fold it to fit in the trunk, but the mechanism was so rusted it barely moved. After several minutes of struggling with the oxidized hinges, he managed to compact it enough to fit into the space. Once inside the car, he turned the heat up to maximum, despite the warm night. Ariel and Ellie's shivering was likely not just from the cold, but from shock and exhaustion. We're heading to Cedarwood Memorial, he informed them, starting the car. Cersei, we'll be there in 20 minutes. In the back seat, Ellie whispered something to her mother, and who kept her eyes closed. The silence in the car was heavy, laden with unasked questions and unspoken accusations. Liam glanced occasionally in the rearview mirror, watching the girl care for her mother with a maturity no child should have to possess. The contrast between the luxury of his car and the precarious condition of his 2 passengers was like a silent scream about everything that had gone wrong in recent years. As he drove through the rainy night, he tried to organize his thoughts. Who was Robert? What had happened to Ariel? How had she and her daughter come to this point? As they approached the city, urban lights began to dot the darkness. The rain gradually subsided, as if it had served its purpose of forcing this unlikely reunion. "We're almost there," Liam announced, breaking the silence. Ellie looked up, her eyes reflecting the city lights passing by the window. "Is the hospital big?" she asked in a low voice. "Yes," Liam replied. "It's the best in the region. It has the best doctors." Will they make Mommy better? The question, so simple and yet so complex, made Liam's chest tighten. What was happening to Ariel? How serious was her condition? "They will take very good care of her," he promised, without committing to outcomes he couldn't guarantee. Ariel briefly opened her eyes, casting a warning glance at Liam in the rearview mirror. Even ill, her message was clear: don't make promises you can't keep. The wet streets reflected the streetlights, creating a spectacle of colors that no one in the car was in the mood to appreciate. As they drove through the city, Liam noticed how Ellie watched everything with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. How long had it been since they were in the city? Where had they been living before? Finally, the outline of Cedarwood Memorial Hospital appeared ahead. A modern building of glass and concrete, illuminated against the night sky. Liam felt Ariel stir in the back seat, as if gathering strength for what was to come. "We're here," he announced, turning into the emergency parking lot. He parked the car as close to the entrance as possible. Before even turning off the engine, he was already planning the next steps. He would need a wheelchair for Ariel, someone to look after Ellie while the doctors examined her mother, and he would have to provide all the necessary documents for her admission. "I'm going to get help," he said, turning to look at them both. "I'll be back in a minute." "Thank you," Ellie murmured, surprising him. It was the first time the girl had thanked him directly. As he got out of the car, Liam felt the weight of the responsibility he had taken on. It wasn't just a matter of paying for medical care. It was his sister, his family, a bond he thought he had broken 12 years ago, but which now proved stronger than time and grudges. The rain was now just a light drizzle, but Liam barely noticed. With determined steps, he headed towards the emergency entrance, determined to do everything in his power to help Ariel. As he walked, a realization hit him. Of all the roads, on all the nights in that storm, he had found his sister, the sister who hated him, the sister he had abandoned. And now, her life was literally in his hands. The irony was not lost on him. The man who had everything, money, power, respect, suddenly realized he had lost what truly mattered along the way. Family, and maybe, just maybe, fate was giving him a second chance. Cedarwood Memorial gleamed like a monument to modern medicine. With its glass and marble walls, state-of-the-art equipment, and a staff composed only of the best specialists, it was where the region's elite treated their ailments and paid fortunes for it. Liam knew the hospital director, Dr. Lawrence, well. They had met at charity dinners where Liam always made a point to appear, not out of altruism, but because it was good for business to be seen as a philanthropist. Now, that connection proved valuable. "Mr. Cordill, what a surprise to see you here at this hour," Dr. Lawrence greeted, extending his hand. Liam shook the doctor's hand firmly. "I need your best team, Lawrence. Now." Minutes later, Ariel was being wheeled on a gurney to the emergency area. Her pale skin contrasted with the white hospital sheets, and her eyes remained half-closed, as if fighting off exhaustion required all her strength. Ellie didn't want to be separated from her mother, clinging to the edge of the hospital blanket. "Honey, you need to wait out here," a nurse said gently. "Your mom is going to have some tests." "No," the girl protested. "I want to stay with her." Ariel tried to lift her hand to touch her daughter's face, but the gesture seemed to require immense effort. "Ellie, stay with—" She hesitated, glancing briefly at Liam before continuing. "Stay with your uncle for a bit. I'll be right back." The girl looked at Liam hesitantly as the gurney with her mother was wheeled into the examination room. A nurse handed Liam forms to fill out, and he realized he knew practically nothing about his sister's current life. Current age, address, emergency contacts, allergies, Medical history? Ellie, he called, trying to sound gentle, can you help me with some information about your mum? The girl approached slowly, still staring at the door through which Ariel had disappeared. What kind of information? Well, it's been a long time since I've seen your mum. I don't know where you live, if she has any allergies. Ellie bit her lower lip, thoughtful. I used to live at 47 Maple Street, apartment 3C, but we don't live there anymore. The mean man wouldn't let us stay. Liam understood immediately. Eviction. Exactly what they had been going through on the road. And before your mum got sick, did she work? Yes, she used to sew for a shop. She made beautiful dresses. The girl's face lit up a little as she spoke. Sometimes she made dresses for my dolls with the scraps. Liam felt a pang in his chest. Ariel had always been talented with handicrafts. When they were kids, she used to make cloth dolls for him. Small memories he had left behind, along with so many other things. Does your mum take any medicine? Yes, some white pills. But they ran out a long time ago, and Mommy said they were too expensive. Each new piece of information was like a punch to the gut. The situation was worse than he had imagined. And your dad? He asked, trying to sound casual. Ellie's eyes lowered. Daddy died when I was little. Mommy has a picture of him in the blue frame. Another question answered. Another layer of complexity in the life his sister had built far from him. As he filled out the forms with the limited information he had, Liam watched Ellie discreetly. The girl had large and expressive eyes like Ariel's, but something in her stubborn chin reminded him of their father. The Cordells had always had that determination stamped on their faces. Are you really my mom's brother? Ellie asked suddenly. Liam nodded, unsure how to explain the complexity of the situation to a child. I am, but we haven't seen each other in a long time. Why? The simple question required a far too complicated answer. Sometimes adults grow apart, for reasons even they don't fully understand. Ellie seemed to consider the answer, not entirely satisfied but accepting it for now. Mommy never said she had a brother. That hurt more than Liam expected. To be completely erased from the family history, as if he had never existed. Although, thinking about it, it wasn't much different from what he had done himself. How many times had he mentioned Ariel in recent years? Almost never. Time passed slowly in the waiting room. Liam made a few calls, cancelling appointments for the next day. Richard, his lawyer, was not at all pleased to hear that the meeting with the Japanese investors would need to be rescheduled. We're talking about millions of dollars, Mr. Cordell. It's a family emergency, Liam cut in. Family? The surprise in Richard's voice was evident. In 5 years working for Liam, the lawyer had never heard him mention any living relatives. Just handle it, Richard. After a 3-hour wait, Dr. Lawrence finally reappeared, accompanied by a middle-aged female doctor with a serious expression. Mr. Cordell, this is Dr. Martinez, a neurologist. The doctor extended her hand. We ran a series of tests on your sister, blood tests, electromyography, an MRI, antibody analysis, and, Liam interrupted, impatient. We'd like to talk with both of you. The patient is awake now. Ellie, who had fallen asleep in one of the waiting room chairs, woke up at the mention of her mother. Can I see my mom? Dr. Martinez smiled gently. Of course, dear. She's waiting for you. They followed the silent hospital corridors until they reached a private room. Ariel was propped up in bed, connected to a heart monitor and with an IV line in her arm. She looked less pale now, but just as frail. As soon as she saw her daughter, her face lit up. Ellie ran to hug her, careful not to dislodge any of the medical equipment. Mommy, are you better? I am, my love, Ariel replied, stroking the girl's hair. Her gaze then met Liam's, and her expression became wary again. He remained near the door, feeling like an intruder. Dr. Martinez pulled up a chair and sat beside the bed, while Dr. Lawrence stood, flipping through a chart. Mrs. Cordell. Foster, Ariel corrected quickly. My last name is Foster now. Liam felt the impact of the correction. She had even abandoned the family name. Mrs. Foster, the doctor continued, based on the test results, we have a diagnosis. The silence in the room became heavy. Ariel unconsciously hugged Ellie tighter, as if trying to shield her from words that had not yet been spoken. "You have myasthenia gravis, a chronic autoimmune disease." Ariel frowned, confused. What? "Myasthenia gravis," the doctor repeated. "It's a condition where the immune system mistakenly attacks the receptors that allow communication between nerves and muscles. This causes muscle weakness and extreme fatigue, especially after physical activity." Ariel turned pale, processing the information. I didn't know. I thought it was just weakness." Her voice failed. "I thought it was just fatigue, stress, poor nutrition." "The symptoms can be confused with many other conditions," the doctor explained gently. "The disease usually starts gradually. Many patients go months or even years before getting a correct diagnosis." Liam took a step forward. "Is there a cure?" Dr. Martinez looked at him, then at Ariel. "Myasthenia gravis has no cure, but it is treatable. With the right treatment, many patients can manage their symptoms well and lead a near-normal life." Ellie, who had been listening intently, looked at her mother with wide eyes. "What does that mean, Mommy?" Ariel tried to smile, despite the shock. "It means we now know what's making me weak, my love, and we can treat it." Dr. Martinez continued. "We will start treatment with cholinesterase inhibitors immediately. These are medications that improve communication between nerves and muscles. I also recommend we begin plasmapheresis sessions." "What's that?" Ariel asked. "It's a procedure that filters the blood to remove the antibodies that are attacking your muscle receptors. In cases like yours, where the weakness is already quite advanced, this can bring significant improvement more quickly." Liam, who had quickly searched on his phone while the doctor was speaking, intervened. "And what about a thymectomy? I read here that removing the thymus gland can help in cases of myasthenia gravis." Dr. Martinez looked impressed. "Yes, it's a therapeutic option we will consider after we stabilize her condition. A thymectomy can reduce symptoms and, in some cases, lead to remission. But first, we need to strengthen Mrs. Foster." Ariel shot an irritated look at Liam, clearly annoyed by his intrusion. Dr. Lawrence cleared his throat. "We will also start physical therapy as soon as possible. The myasthenia has significantly affected her muscles, and we'll need a gradual strengthening program." "How long will I be here?" Ariel asked, concern evident in her voice. "For at least a week," the doctor replied. "We need to monitor your response to the treatment and adjust dosages as needed. We also want to ensure there are no myasthenic crises, which can affect the respiratory muscles." Ariel closed her eyes for a moment, and Liam could see the weight of that reality falling on her. A chronic illness, expensive treatments, and a young daughter to raise. How much does all this cost?" she asked in a low voice. Before either doctor could answer, Liam stepped forward. "Don't worry about that, it's all covered." Ariel opened her eyes, staring at him with a mixture of gratitude and resentment. "We need to start treatment immediately," Dr. Martinez insisted. "Every day of delay could mean more damage." Ariel took a deep breath, looking at her daughter nestled against her chest. "I accept. But," she stared directly at Liam, "this doesn't change anything between us." The doctors exchanged uncomfortable glances, sensing the tension between the siblings. "We'll leave you alone for a moment," Dr. Lawrence suggested. "Our nurses will be in shortly to start the medication." When the door closed, the silence in the room became almost palpable. Ellie looked confusedly from one adult to the other, feeling the tension but not fully understanding it. "Ellie," Ariel called softly, "can you get me a glass of water? There's a pitcher over there on the small table." The girl nodded, happy to have a task. While she was busy with the water, Ariel turned to Liam, speaking in a low voice. "Don't think this changes anything. As soon as I'm better, we're going our own way. Ariel, please, you're sick. Ellie needs stability. Let me help. Now you care." The bitterness in her voice was almost tangible. 12 years, Liam. 12 years without a word, a call, nothing. "You didn't reach out to me either," he retorted, immediately regretting his defensive tone. "Why would I after what you did?" She shook her head. "Let's not argue about this now." "Not in front of her." Ellie returned with the glass of water, watching the adults with curiosity. "Is everything okay, Mommy?" "Yes, my love." Ariel forced a smile, taking a sip of water. "Thank you." A nurse entered the room, carrying a tray with medications. "Time for the first dose, Mrs. Foster. This will help with the muscle weakness." As the nurse administered the medicine, Ellie climbed onto the bed next to her mother, careful not to get in the way. "Is Mommy going to die?" she asked suddenly, her small voice betraying the fear she was trying to hide. The entire room seemed to freeze at the question. The nurse stopped what she was doing, looking at Ariel, who looked as if she had been slapped. "No, my love," she finally replied, pulling her daughter close. "I'm going to be okay. Now we know what I have, and the doctors are going to help me get better." Liam watched the scene with a lump in his throat. The girl was so small, so vulnerable, and she clearly adored her mother more than anything. "Your mum is strong, Ellie," he said, surprising himself. "She always has been, since she was little." Ariel stared at him, surprised by his words. "When we were kids," Liam continued, speaking directly to Ellie, "your mum always protected me from the school bullies. Even though she was a girl, she would stand up to anyone who tried to bother me." Ellie's eyes widened. "Really, Mummy?" A reluctant smile appeared on Ariel's face. "Your uncle was smaller than the other boys. Someone had to defend him." "Did you beat up the boys?" Ellie looked impressed. "I didn't have to," Ariel replied, the ghost of a memory momentarily softening her expression. "I just had to give them a mean look and tell them they'd have to deal with me after school." For a brief moment, the tension in the room eased, a small window into the past they shared, before everything fell apart. But the moment passed quickly. Ariel looked away, returning to the present reality. "I'm tired," she declared. "I need to rest." Liam got the message. She didn't want him there. "Of course," he agreed. "I'll wait outside if you need anything." "We don't," Ariel cut in. Ellie looked confusedly at her mother, then at Liam. "So is Uncle Liam leaving?" "No, honey," he replied, before Ariel could say anything. "I'm staying here at the hospital. I'm just going to wait outside the room so your mum can rest." As he turned to leave, Ariel's voice stopped him. "Liam," he turned back, hopeful. "The doctor said you paid for all of this." "Yes." "Why?" The question caught him off guard. Why was he helping? Out of guilt? Obligation? Some brotherly feeling that had survived all these years? "Because you're my sister," he answered simply. Ariel raised her hand as he took a step toward her. "No, I don't want you here." The words were firm, but Liam could see the glint of tears in her eyes. She was fighting her own vulnerability, fighting the need to accept help, especially from him. "All right," he agreed, backing away. "I'll be outside if you need me." When the door closed behind him, Liam leaned against the hallway wall and slid down to sit on the floor. His expensive suit, now wrinkled and still damp from the rain, seemed completely out of place. Just like him. He took his phone out of his pocket. There were dozens of notifications, emails, messages, all related to Cordell Enterprises, problems that, just a few hours ago, had seemed like matters of life and death. Now, looking at that closed door, at the room where his sister fought a debilitating disease while trying to protect her daughter, Liam felt a clarity he had never experienced before. All the money in the world, all the power, all the achievements. What good were they if, in the end, you were alone? If the only people who mattered were on the other side of a door you couldn't walk through? Liam Cordell, the man who could buy practically anything, felt completely powerless. The nurse leaving the room found him like that, sitting on the hallway floor, staring intently at the closed door. "Mr. Cordell, are you all right?" He nodded mechanically. "How long until—" "Until my sister gets better." The nurse hesitated. "Myasthenia gravis is a complex condition. Each patient responds differently to treatment. But your sister is young, and despite the muscle weakness, her vital organs are in good condition. That's very positive." "Thank you," he murmured. As the nurse walked away, Liam remained where he was, unable to leave, but also without permission to enter. In a world where he always made the decisions, always was in control, now all he could do was wait. And for the first time in many years, Liam Cordell prayed, Not for more success, not for more money or power, but for a second chance. A chance to fix what he had broken so long ago. A chance to be a family again. 3 days had passed since the diagnosis. Cedarwood Memorial continued its quiet routine of saving lives, while Liam Cordell established a new routine of his own, waking up on the uncomfortable couch in the waiting room, having coffee in the hospital cafeteria, working remotely on his laptop, and, most importantly, waiting in the hallway, waiting for a sister who didn't want to see him. During these days, Dr. Martinez updated Liam on Ariel's treatment. The plasmapheresis was showing promising results. The medication helped with the most severe symptoms. Physical therapy would begin soon. "Your sister is a fighter," the doctor commented after the second plasmapheresis session. "Many patients get scared of the procedure, but she faces everything with determination." Liam didn't doubt it. Ariel had always been determined, ever since she was a child. It was a quality he admired in her, even when that stubbornness was directed at him like now. Hospital staff began to recognize him as part of the scenery. The head nurse, a middle-aged woman named Rose, brought him extra coffee on the tougher mornings. The night security guard, a quiet man named Marcus, offered him small talk about sports when the silence of the early morning became oppressive. That morning, Liam was finishing a video conference with investors when his lawyer called. "Mr. Cordell, we need to discuss the situation with the Chinese. They are threatening to back out of the deal." "Handle it, Richard," Liam replied, rubbing his tired eyes. "Give them what they want in the intellectual property clauses." "What?" "But sir, that could cost the company millions." "You always said that—" "Just do as I say," Liam interrupted. Noticing his voice echoed in the empty hallway, he lowered his tone. "We have other priorities at the moment." The silence on the other end of the line was almost comical. Richard was probably checking to see if he was really speaking to Liam Cordell, the man who once turned down a $500 million deal because he found the amount insulting. "Is everything all right, sir?" "It is, Richard. Just do what I asked." Liam ended the call and looked at the closed door of room 307. Ariel was in there, continuing her treatment, allowing entry to doctors, nurses, and Hank and, of course, Ellie, but not to him. He respected her decision, though it hurt more than he'd like to admit. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the door opening. It wasn't a doctor or nurse leaving as he expected. It was Ellie. The girl closed the door silently behind her, as if not wanting to disturb someone sleeping inside. When she saw Liam sitting in the hallway, her face lit up with a shy smile. "Hi," she said, approaching with hesitant steps. "Hi, Ellie," Liam replied, putting his phone in his pocket. "How's your mum today?" "She's sleeping now." "The nurse said the new medicine makes her sleepy." Ellie looked at the empty space next to Liam, and then at him, as if asking for permission. He smiled and patted the seat beside him. The girl sat down, swinging her legs that didn't reach the floor. "You're here every day," she observed, looking at him with curiosity. "Yes, I am, but you don't go into the room." Liam took a deep breath. How to explain the complexity of the situation to a child? "Your mum needs space right now. She needs to focus on getting better." Ellie frowned, processing the information. "The doctors said Mommy is getting better." "That's great." Liam smiled genuinely. It was the best news he'd had in days. "But you won't see her get better," Ellie continued, with the direct logic that only children possess. "You always stay out here." "Sometimes that's how it is," Liam replied, feeling uncomfortable under his niece's perceptive gaze. "We can't always be close to the people we want to help." Ellie was silent for a moment, contemplating his words. Then suddenly she asked, "Are you going to leave too?" The question caught Liam by surprise. There was a vulnerability in the girl's voice that made his heart ache. "No," he answered firmly. "I'm going to be here always. Always for real." "Yes, Ellie, whenever you and your mum need me." She seemed to ponder the promise, as if testing its weight and sincerity. "Are you my mommy's friend?" Liam hesitated. Friend was a complicated word to describe what he and Ariel were to each other now. "I'm her brother." Ellie's eyes widened slightly. "Brother? Like, from the same dad and mom?" "Yes," Liam confirmed. "We grew up together." "I wish I had a brother," Ellie said, looking at her own hands. The confession, so simple and sincere, hit Liam deeply. He thought of his own childhood, of playing with Ariel, of their fights, their reconciliations. Despite everything that had happened since, those memories remained intact, precious. "Brothers are special," he said softly, "but sometimes we make mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" Liam looked up at the ceiling, searching for words, how to summarize years of wrong choices, of distorted priorities, of wounded pride. "I did wrong things, Ellie. I'm trying to fix them." The girl studied him with those large, curious eyes, so much like Ariel's when she was young. "My teacher says that when we do something wrong, we have to say sorry and try to do better next time." Liam smiled at the simplicity of the solution. "Your teacher is very wise. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Will Mommy forgive you?" The million-dollar question. Liam sighed. "I don't know, Ellie, I hope so. But even if she doesn't, I'll keep trying." Ellie nodded, as if she perfectly understood the complexity of the problem. Then, to Liam's surprise, she placed her small hand on his. "I wish you would stay with us." The simplicity of the wish, the implicit trust in those words, hit Liam like a wave. This child who barely knew him, already accepted him, already wanted to include him in her small family. He took a deep breath, fighting the emotion rising in his throat. "Me too," he finally replied, his voice hoarser than he intended. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Liam watched Ellie out of the corner of his eye. Despite the difficult situation, she maintained an admirable resilience. Dressed in simple clothes, probably bought at some cheap department store, she still exuded a dignity that reminded him of Ariel. "Do you like ice cream?" he asked suddenly. The girl's face lit up. "I do. My favorite is strawberry. There's a coffee shop downstairs that serves ice cream. What do you say we go get some?" "We can bring some for your mum too, for when she wakes up." Ellie hesitated, looking at the room door. "What if Mommy wakes up and can't find me? We'll leave a message with the nurse, and we'll be back in a flash." After considering for a moment, Ellie nodded, sliding off the chair. Liam stood up, his back aching after hours of sitting in the hallway. They went down to the cafeteria together, where Liam bought a strawberry ice cream for Ellie, a vanilla one for himself, and a chocolate one for Ariel. "It's her favorite," Ellie informed him. While they savored the treat, the girl seemed more relaxed, almost like a normal child enjoying a common moment. "Your dad," Liam began cautiously. "What was he like?" Ellie licked her spoon before answering. "He was nice. He played the guitar and sang funny songs to me, but I was very little when he died. I only remember a little bit." "I'm sorry," Liam said sincerely. "Mommy has pictures of him. She shows them to me sometimes and tells stories." Ellie paused, stirring her ice cream. "After he died, Mommy got very sad." Liam nodded, encouraging her to continue if she wanted to. "After my dad died, everything got hard," she continued, her eyes fixed on the melting ice cream. "Mommy got sick and lost her job." The casual way she spoke of hardships that no child should know broke Liam's heart. "A man used to come and yell about the rent," Ellie went on, her voice getting smaller. "He would bang on the door and say ugly words. Mommy would tell me to go to my room, but I could still hear." Liam clenched his fist under the table. The image of Ariel facing an aggressive landlord alone, while protecting Ellie, made his blood boil. "One day they cut the power." Ellie's voice trembled slightly. "Mommy lit candles, and we pretended it was an adventure. But it was cold, and sometimes there was nothing to eat." Every word was like a stab wound. While Liam lived in his mansion, dined at expensive restaurants, and closed million-dollar deals, his own sister and niece were going hungry and cold. The contrast was too brutal to ignore. Liam felt the weight of every word, ashamed of how absent he had been. Entire years of their lives lost forever, while he pursued more money, more power, more recognition. "But Mommy always said we were going to be okay," Ellie completed with a moving confidence. "She promised, and Mommy always keeps her promises." Liam swallowed hard, unable to speak for a moment. "Your mom is very strong," he finally said. "Yes," Ellie agreed with pride. "The strongest in the world." When they finished their ice cream, they returned to room 307. Ellie carefully carried the cup of chocolate ice cream for Ariel. "Thanks for the ice cream, Uncle Liam," she said, stopping in front of the door. The term uncle caught him by surprise. It was the first time Ellie had called him that, and it sounded strangely right. "You're welcome, Ellie." She hesitated, her hand on the doorknob. "Don't you want to come in?" "Just for a little bit." Liam shook his head gently. "Better not. Your mum needs to rest." "But you're her brother," Ellie insisted, with the unshakable logic of children. "Family stays together when someone is sick. The teacher said so." "Sometimes it's complicated, Ellie, because of the wrong things you did." "Yes." Ellie considered this for a moment. "If you say you're really sorry, I think Mommy will forgive you. She always forgives me when I do something wrong." The girl's confidence in her mother's capacity for forgiveness was touching, though probably naive. Liam's mistakes weren't like forgotten homework or a broken toy. "I hope so, Ellie," she smiled at him, a smile that lit up her whole face. "Go out, put Mommy's ice cream in the mini-fridge until she wakes up, and I'll tell her you bought it." "Thank you." With a final wave, Ellie entered the room, closing the door silently behind her. Liam returned to his post in the hallway, but something had changed. There was a thread of hope now as thin as a spider's web, but present nonetheless. Ellie was becoming a bridge between him and Ariel, a bridge that maybe, just maybe, his sister would eventually cross. Hours later, when night had fallen, Liam was almost dozing in the uncomfortable chair when the room door opened again. He expected to see a nurse, but it was Ellie, now wearing borrowed hospital pajamas. "Uncle Liam," she called in a low voice. "Mommy ate the ice cream." "That's good," he replied, shifting in his chair. "Did she like it?" Ellie nodded. "She asked who bought it. I told her it was you." "And what did she say?" Ellie bit her lip, hesitant. "She didn't say anything, but she ate it all." To Liam, that was a small miracle. Ariel hadn't refused something from him. It was a microscopic start, but a start nonetheless. "I have to go back," Ellie whispered. "I just wanted to tell you." "Thank you, Ellie. That means a lot." The girl smiled, waving briefly before disappearing back inside the room. Liam leaned back in his chair, feeling strangely lighter. For more than a decade, he had built walls around himself, walls made of money, power, and professional success. He never needed anyone, never depended on anyone, until now. Now, his happiness depended on a cup of chocolate ice cream and the kind heart of a 10-year-old girl. And for the first time in a long time, Liam Cordell felt truly rich. 2 weeks had passed since the diagnosis. Cedarwood Memorial, with its quiet hallways and precise routine, had become a temporary home for Ariel and Ellie. For Liam, it had become the center of his universe, although he still remained outside of room 307. The medical team was impressed with Ariel's response to the treatment. The combination of plasmapheresis, medication, and the patient's fierce determination was producing results that exceeded initial expectations. "She's responding exceptionally well," Dr. Martinez commented during one of her conversations with Liam in the hallway. "Our tests show a significant reduction in the antibodies attacking her muscle receptors. Does that mean she'll make a full recovery?" Liam asked, trying to keep his hope in check. The doctor adjusted her glasses, choosing her words carefully. "Myasthenia gravis is a chronic condition, Mr. Cordell. There is no definitive cure. But with the right treatment, many patients can resume most of their normal activities." She paused, observing Liam's expression. "Your sister has an impressive fighting spirit. That makes all the difference." That morning, Ariel was to begin her first intensive physical therapy session. After days of receiving only passive exercises in bed, she would finally try to stand up. Ellie was excited about the news. Since early morning, she had been circulating in the hallway, telling everyone, nurses, doctors, and even unknown visitors, that her mother would take her first steps today. "Uncle Liam," she exclaimed upon seeing him arrive with a small bouquet of flowers. "Today's the big day," he smiled, handing her the flowers to take inside. "Yes, your mum is very brave. The physical therapist is already in there. He said I can watch if I stay quiet." Liam nodded, trying not to show his disappointment at not being able to witness this important moment. 2 weeks. and Ariel still kept the door closed to him. "Tell me all about it later, okay?" Ellie agreed enthusiastically before disappearing into the room with the flowers. Moments later, she came out again. "Mommy said thank you for the flowers," she reported with a smile. "And the physical therapist said you can look through the window if you want." Liam felt a wave of gratitude for the professional who, somehow, had created this small opening. The room's window faced the inner hallway and was usually kept with the blinds closed, but today, apparently, they were partially open. "I don't know if your mom would like that," he replied cautiously. The physical therapist already asked her. He said it would be good to have family support. With his heart racing, Liam followed Ellie to the window. The blinds were open enough for him to see inside the room without being too invasive. Ariel was sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing a simple sweatsuit that Liam had bought for her at the hospital gift shop. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, and her face, though still pale, had more color than in previous weeks. The physical therapist, a middle-aged man with a kind expression, was kneeling in front of her, explaining something Liam couldn't hear. Ariel nodded, her face a mask of absolute concentration. "We're going to try standing up today." The therapist's voice was audible now. "Don't worry if you don't succeed on the first try. I'm here to support you." Ellie pressed her face against the window, her eyes shining with anticipation. Liam stayed a little back, just enough to see without being easily noticed. Carefully, the therapist positioned himself in front of Ariel, holding her forearms. "We'll use the technique we practiced. First, push with your hands against the mattress to give yourself a boost. Then, transfer your weight to your legs while I support you." Ariel took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, they held a fierce determination that Liam recognized immediately. It was the same look she had when, as a teenager, she decided nothing would stop her from achieving something. With a calculated move, she pressed her palms against the mattress and pushed her body up. The therapist held her firmly as she tried to find her balance on her own legs. For an instant, no more than 2 or 3 seconds, Ariel stood. Her body trembled with the effort, but she was there, lifted from the ground for the first time in weeks. "Very good," the therapist exclaimed when she had to sit down again, exhausted from the effort. "So that was excellent for a first attempt." Ellie clapped silently from the outside, her face lit up by a huge smile. Liam felt a lump in his throat, too emotional to speak. "Shall we try one more time?" the therapist suggested, after a few minutes of rest. Ariel nodded, determined. On the second attempt, she managed to stay standing for almost 5 seconds. On the third, almost 10. Each small victory was celebrated as if it were the conquering of a mountain. The therapist praised her, Ellie cheered, and Liam, invisible behind the window, felt a pride so intense he could barely contain it. "I think that's enough for today," the therapist declared after the 4th attempt. "We don't want to overdo it on the first day." "Can I try one more time?" Ariel asked, surprising everyone with her persistence. "Just one more." The professional hesitated but eventually agreed. "Just one more, then. But let's do it differently. I'll stand by your side, holding your arm, and we'll try to take a small step." Ariel's eyes widened at the suggestion, a mix of fear and hope, but she accepted the challenge with a nod. This time, when she stood up, the therapist positioned himself beside her, giving her firm support. Ariel took a deep breath, concentrating intensely. "Lift your right foot just a little," he instructed. "It doesn't have to be a big step." With visible effort, Ariel lifted her foot a few inches off the floor and moved it forward. A tiny step, almost imperceptible to anyone not paying attention. But for that family, it was like watching a man step on the moon. "Mommy!" Ellie exclaimed, unable to contain her enthusiasm. "You did it!" Ariel looked at the window, noticing for the first time that she was being watched. Her eyes met Liam's for a brief instant. There was no anger there, just concentration and, perhaps, a spark of something more. Pride, maybe. She quickly looked away, turning her attention back to the therapist. "Can I try another one?" "Better not. We've already exceeded expectations for today. We'll continue tomorrow." In the following days, the physical therapy sessions became the highlight of the hospital routine. Every small victory was celebrated. Ariel could stand for increasingly longer periods. The steps, initially timid and uncertain, gradually became firmer. A week later, she could already take 3 consecutive steps with the therapist's support. "It's incredible how fast she's progressing," he commented to Liam after a particularly successful session. "Your sister has an impressive willpower." "She always has," Liam replied, smiling at the memories. "When we were kids, she learned to ride a bike in one day. She fell dozens of times, scraped her knees, but didn't give up until she got it." The therapist nodded, understanding. "That determination is saving her now. Some patients give up after the first difficulties, but she turns every small progress into fuel to keep going." That afternoon, Liam watched another session through the partially open window. Ariel was now practicing taking short steps with the support of a parallel bar temporarily installed in the room. Her face shone with sweat from the effort, but she didn't stop. One step, then another, and another. Ellie, sitting in a nearby chair, couldn't contain her enthusiasm. Her eyes shone with admiration as she watched her mother's every move. When Ariel completed a full lap on the parallel bars, 6 steps in total, Ellie jumped from her chair, radiant. "I knew you would get strong, Mommy." The smile that lit up Ariel's face at that moment was like a ray of sunshine after a long storm. Exhausted but triumphant, she allowed herself to be helped back to bed, where she hugged her daughter tightly. "I'm trying, my love, for you." Liam watched the scene from a distance, his heart full of conflicting emotions. Pride in his sister's strength, sadness for the lost time, hope for a future that might, just might, include him again. He continued to respect the space Ariel demanded, but each of her small progresses felt like his own. Every step she took seemed to shrink, however minimally, the distance between them. As he moved away from the window to give them privacy, Liam realized he was also learning to take new steps. Steps toward a different kind of strength, not that of power or money, but that of patience, humility, and unconditional love. Slow and uncertain steps, just like Ariel's. But, like her, he was determined not to give up. After a month in the hospital, Dr. Martinez entered the room with good news. "Your tests show significant improvement, the medications are working, and your response to physical therapy has been excellent." Ariel, who could now sit up without help, looked hopefully at the doctor. "Does that mean I can go home?" "Yes. It's time to continue your recovery at home." Ellie lifted her head from the drawing she was making, her eyes wide with excitement. "Are we going home, Mommy?" The innocent question made Ariel look away. Home. They no longer had one. "There are conditions," the doctor continued. "Medication at the correct times, physical therapy 3 times a week, and a suitable environment. You'll need constant help during the first few weeks." "I can help," Ellie offered. "I know how to make a sandwich." Dr. Martinez smiled. "You'll be a wonderful helper, but your mom will need an adult too." When the doctor left, Ellie asked quietly, "Where are we going, Mommy?" Ariel hugged her daughter, hiding her concern. "Don't worry, my love. Everything will be all right." Later, while Ellie was in the cafeteria with a nurse, a knock on the door interrupted Ariel. It was Liam. For all those weeks, he had respected her wish for distance, keeping to the hallway. "May I come in?" he asked hesitantly. After a moment, Ariel nodded. Liam looked different, thinner, with visible dark circles under his eyes, his suit wrinkled. Nothing like the impeccable businessman from before. "I heard you're being discharged," he began. "Yes, tomorrow morning. I've been thinking about what will happen when you leave here." "That's not your problem, Liam. Actually, it is," he said with surprising firmness. "You're my sister. Ellie is my niece. You are my family, whether you like it or not." Ariel crossed her arms. "Now we're family. After all these years, I deserve your anger," he admitted. "I wasn't there when you needed me." Liam took a step forward and looked her directly in the eyes. "I know about the eviction, about the overdue bills. I've already paid everything." Ariel paled, looking down, embarrassed. "I didn't ask for that," she muttered. "I know you didn't. But I owed you." He moved closer, still maintaining a respectful distance. "It's been 12 years, Ariel. 12 years in which you faced everything alone, while I only cared about money and power." His voice cracked. I can't change the past. But I can be here now. Liam took a deep breath, preparing to continue. From now on, I think it's best if you two come live with me. It will be safer. Live with you? In your mansion? The tone was incredulous. No way. It's not a mansion, he corrected. It's a house with enough space for everyone. There's a ground floor bedroom that can be yours, so you don't have to climb stairs. And it's close to Dr. Martinez's office. The door opened and Ellie came in, carrying cookies. Uncle Liam, she exclaimed, surprised and happy to see him in her mother's room. She ran to hug him, a gesture that still caught him by surprise. Look, Mommy, chocolate chip cookies. Can I share with you? Ellie, Ariel called softly. Uncle Liam is suggesting we stay at his house when we leave the hospital. What do you think? The girl's face lit up. In his big house, the one with the pool. Liam nodded. Can we really? Ellie looked hopefully at her mother. It would be like a vacation. Ariel watched her daughter, seeing a happiness she hadn't witnessed in a long time. In recent weeks, Ellie seemed lighter, more childlike, as a child should be. Much of that was thanks to Liam. Ellie approached and held her mother's hand. Mummy, please. I like my uncle. The sincerity of those simple words hit Ariel deeply. As much as she wanted to hold on to her resentment, she couldn't deny that Liam had changed. She looked at her daughter, then at her brother. Both were watching her, hopeful. Ariel sighed, feeling a complex emotion take over. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But maybe it was the first step. All right, she finally agreed. Shaz, but that doesn't mean I've forgiven you. The relief on Liam's face was palpable. I know, he replied softly. I'm not asking for that. Not yet. Ellie jumped for joy, already planning her new room, while Ariel watched. Her daughter deserved this happiness, this sense of an expanded family. And maybe, just maybe, she also deserved a chance to heal old wounds. Liam Cordell's house was exactly as Ellie had described it. Big. Too big for just one person, with its 3 floors, 6 bedrooms, a pool, and an impeccably manicured garden. A mansion that screamed success and money, things Ariel had always considered superficial. The private driver parked smoothly in the circular driveway. Before Ariel could protest, Liam was already beside the car with a wheelchair. Just in case, he explained, seeing his sister's displeased expression. Dr. Martinez said to avoid exertion for the first few days. Ariel relented without arguing. Despite her improvement, she still tired easily. Ellie jumped out of the car, her eyes wide at the sight of the imposing house. It's like a castle, she exclaimed, spinning in circles to see everything. They entered through a side door that led directly to a hallway with no steps, an adaptation Liam had hastily arranged. The interior was surprisingly less ostentatious than Ariel had expected. Elegant furniture, but without exaggeration, neutral tones, a few pieces of art on the walls. Your room is here, Liam explained, opening a door. It was my office, but I converted it into a suite so you wouldn't have to climb stairs. The room was spacious and bright, with a large bed, comfortable armchairs, and a door that led to an adapted bathroom with support bars. And Ellie's room is right there, he continued, pointing to a nearby door, so you can be close to each other. Can I see my room? Ellie asked, barely containing her excitement. Of course, Liam smiled. Go ahead. While the girl ran off to explore, Ariel watched her brother with an unreadable expression. You thought of everything, she commented finally. I tried, he admitted. I hired a nurse who will come a few hours a day to help with physical therapy and whatever else is needed, and a housekeeper who will take care of the cleaning and meals. Liam, this is all necessary, he completed firmly. Please, Ariel, let me do this. She nodded, too tired to argue. The first few days were strange. Ariel felt like an intruder in a world that wasn't hers. The staff were kind, but their constant presence bothered her. She was used to doing everything herself, even when sick. Ellie, on the other hand, adapted quickly. She was enchanted by the garden, the huge TV in the living room, the kitchen always stocked with treats she could never have, the housekeeper, Mrs. Palmer, a middle-aged woman with a kind face, taught her how to bake cookies on rainy afternoons. Liam was spending less time at the office now. He came home earlier, often bringing small gifts, a book for Ellie, flowers for the table, craft magazines he knew Ariel liked. He tried not to be intrusive, respecting his sister's space, but was always present. A week after the move, Ariel could already walk short distances without help. The private physical therapist, hired by Liam, was impressed with her progress. "You're determined," he praised, after a particularly demanding session. "That makes all the difference." That evening, after dinner, while Ellie watched cartoons with Mrs. Palmer, Ariel decided to try something new. Leaning on her cane, she walked slowly to the side porch of the house. The cool night air was comforting, and she felt refreshed as she sat in one of the comfortable chairs arranged there. The sky was clear, dotted with stars. Ariel couldn't remember the last time she had simply looked at the stars, without immediate worries about bills, food, or medicine. She was lost in thought when she heard soft footsteps behind her. "May I join you?" Liam asked, hesitant. She nodded, indicating the chair beside her. For a few minutes, they sat in silence, just watching the sky. It wasn't a comfortable silence like that of siblings who know each other well, but it also wasn't as tense as in their first interactions at the hospital. "Thank you," Ariel said finally, "for all of this. For the treatment, the house, for taking care of Ellie." Liam shook his head. "Don't thank me. It's the least I can do after everything." Another silence followed, heavier this time. Years of hurt didn't disappear in a few weeks of forced cohabitation. "She looks like you," Liam commented after a while. "Ellie, she has your smile and the same determination." A soft smile appeared on Ariel's face. "Everyone says she looks like her father. But yes, I think she has a lot of me in her too." "Robert was a good man," Liam said quietly. "I remember him from your wedding. He really loved you." Ariel nodded, the mention of her late husband bringing a wave of nostalgia. "Yes, he was. He worked hard but always put family first." Her voice took on a bitter tone. "Unlike our father." Liam shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Then, looking at the floor, he began to speak in a low voice. "I always hated our father's way. Cold, arrogant, thinking he was better than everyone." Ariel turned to face him, surprised by the confession. He closed his eyes, visibly emotional. "He only lived for work, and in the end, I became just like him." The vulnerability in Liam's voice was something Ariel hadn't heard since they were children. The younger brother, who needed her protection in school, seemed to finally reappear from behind the facade of the successful businessman. "When he died," Liam continued, "I inherited the company and thought I would finally prove my worth, that I would be better than him. But instead, I followed exactly in his footsteps. I pushed away everyone who mattered." He took a deep breath, visibly fighting his emotions. "I lost everything that mattered. Family, you, years that will never come back. I don't expect your forgiveness, but I want to be different. Can you help me?" The question hung in the air between them, so simple and yet so complex. A request not just for forgiveness, but for redemption, for a second chance to be a different person. Ariel looked at her brother, really looked at him, for the first time in a long time. She saw the worry lines that weren't there 12 years ago, the exhaustion in his eyes, the poorly disguised loneliness of a man who had conquered the business world, but lost everything else. And she also saw the boy who used to follow her everywhere as a child, the teenager who always asked for her advice before making important decisions, the young man who, at some point along the way, had lost himself. Ariel took a long time to answer. The hurt of years didn't disappear with simple words. She remembered how he had ignored her phone calls after their father's death, how he had pushed her away when she needed support the most, how he had chosen the company over family. But she also remembered the last month, the brother sleeping in uncomfortable chairs in the hospital hallway, paying for the best available treatment, turning his life upside down to accommodate them, making Ellie smile again. Finally, she murmured, "I don't know if I can forget, but maybe I can try." Liam looked up, a cautious hope shining in his eyes. "That's all I ask. A chance." Ariel nodded slightly, turning her gaze back to the stars. The truth was, she was also tired of carrying so much resentment. Maybe there was room in her heart not just to forgive, but to rebuild. Robert used to say, she commented softly, that family isn't something you have, it's something you build, every day with small gestures. He was right, Liam agreed. Ellie never had a family besides me, Ariel continued. She deserves more. She deserves uncles, cousins, people who love her. I love her, Liam stated with surprising firmness. I never thought I would get so attached to someone so quickly, but that little girl, she's special. Yes, she is, Ariel agreed, a genuine smile lighting up her face. An excited shout came from inside the house. Mommy! Uncle Liam! Come see what I drew. They exchanged glances, a moment of mutual understanding passing between them. We'd better go, Ariel said, leaning on her cane to stand up. Liam offered his arm for support, without insisting. To her surprise, she accepted, holding on to him lightly as they walked back inside. A small step, a new beginning. Outside, the stars continued to shine over the house that was slowly beginning to transform into a home. 2 weeks had passed since their conversation on the porch. Small, almost imperceptible changes began to appear in the household dynamic. Ariel no longer retreated to her room right after dinner. Liam no longer had to measure every word so carefully. Meals, once silent and tense, now included light conversation, mostly thanks to Ellie's boundless energy. The large, impersonal house began to gain touches that made it more welcoming. Ellie's drawings adorned the refrigerator door. Plants that Ariel had chosen brought life to previously empty corners. Even Liam, who had always lived in impeccably organized environments, no longer minded the occasional toys scattered in the living room. That Sunday afternoon, the autumn sun streamed gently through the living room windows. Ariel was in her room, working on an embroidery piece, a hobby she had recently taken up, encouraged by her physical therapist as an exercise to strengthen her fine motor skills. Her hands still trembled a bit when she was fatigued, but the improvement was noticeable. Finishing a particularly tricky stitch, she decided to take a break. With more confident movements, she leaned on her cane and walked to the kitchen to get a glass of water. The house was quiet, except for muffled voices coming from the reading room. Curious, Ariel approached the ajar door and peeked through the crack. The scene she saw made her heart leap. Liam was sitting in the large armchair near the window, with Ellie comfortably settled on his lap. A thick book of fairy tales rested in his hands as he read in a low voice, changing his intonation for different characters. Ellie listened intently, her eyes fixed on the colorful illustrations, an occasional smile lighting up her face. And then, the brave girl faced the dark forest, Liam read, his voice taking on a dramatic tone, knowing that only she could save her family. Like Mommy, Ellie commented softly. Liam paused, looking at his niece with curiosity. What do you mean? Mommy is brave too, Ellie explained. She always took care of me, even when she was sick. Even when we had almost nothing to eat. Ariel felt a lump in her throat as she heard her daughter's words. Your mother is the bravest person I know, Liam agreed, with a sincerity that surprised Ariel. She always has been, since she was little. She protected you from the bullies, Ellie remembered, repeating the story she had heard at the hospital. Liam smiled, a distant look on his face. Not just from the bullies, from everything. When our parents fought, and they fought a lot, it was Ariel who would come to my room, cover my ears, and tell me stories to distract me. Ariel stepped back a little, feeling almost like an intruder in this intimate conversation, but she couldn't pull herself away. Long-buried memories began to surface, like bubbles rising to the surface of a lake. Were you friends when you were little? Ellie asked, snuggling into her uncle's lap. The best of friends, Liam replied, his gaze lost in memories. Your mum was 4 years older than me, but she never treated me like an annoying baby, like many older siblings do. She included me in everything. And then, Liam sighed, then we grew up, and sometimes, when people grow up, they get lost along the way. Ellie frowned, trying to understand the abstract concept. Like getting lost in a forest. Something like that, Liam smiled melancholically, But instead of trees, you get lost in things like money, power, pride. And by the time you realize it, you don't know how to get back home. But you found your way back, Ellie stated with the direct simplicity of children. I'm trying, he replied softly. Every day. Ariel remained motionless, watching through the crack in the door. Something inside her was stirring. Memories she had deliberately suppressed for years. Memories of a younger brother who adored her, who followed her like a shadow, who trusted her above anyone else. In her mind, a kaleidoscope of images began to form. Liam at 5A, sharing his sandwich with her when their mother had forgotten to pack lunch during one of her difficult phases. Liam at 7, giving her a drawing on Mother's Day because he knew their mother, lost in her own problems, wouldn't remember the date. Liam at 10, saving his allowance money to buy a cheap brooch she had admired in a shop window. Liam as a teenager, holding her hand at a friend's funeral, respecting her silence, just being there when she needed it most. And then, the most painful memories, their father's funeral, the reading of the will that left everything to Liam, the gradual transformation of the caring brother into the cold, distant executive, the unanswered calls, the ignored pleas for help, the complete estrangement. Ariel closed her eyes, her chest tightening with a mix of sorrow and longing. For years, she had nurtured only resentment, letting anger suffocate any good memory. But now, watching Liam with Ellie, the genuine care in his eyes, the kindness in every gesture, something was changing inside her. It was as if a long-locked door was beginning to open, letting in a light she had denied for too long. In the reading room, Ellie pleaded, "Tell me another story about Mommy when she was little." Liam smiled, closing the storybook. "Did you know your mom taught me how to ride a bike? Our dad was always busy, and our mom, well, she had her own problems. So it was Ariel who saved up her allowance, fixed up an old neighbor's bike, and taught me. I fell so many times my knees were all scraped up. I wanted to give up, but she wouldn't let me." "Mommy never lets us give up," Ellie agreed. "Exactly. She would say, get up, try again, you can do it, Liam." And you know what? By the end of that day, I was riding all by myself. Ariel silently retreated, leaning against the hallway wall. The memory of that day was vivid. The warm sun, the rough asphalt of the empty parking lot where they practiced, Liam's radiant smile when he finally managed to keep his balance. She had always been the protector, the strong one, the responsible one. When their parents failed, their father with his obsession with work, their mother with her emotional ups and downs, it was Ariel who filled the gaps, who ensured Liam had as normal a childhood as possible, and he had reciprocated in his own way, with admiration, with small gestures of affection, with a loyalty that seemed unshakable, until it wasn't anymore. Walking slowly back to her room, Ariel sat on the edge of her bed, looking out the window at the garden. The golden autumn leaves fell gently, dancing in the wind. Her entire adult life had been defined by that rupture, the moment her brother chose their father's empire over blood ties. For years, that betrayal had fueled her anger, justified her distance, strengthened her walls. But now, seeing Liam with Ellie, hearing him talk about the past with such affection and regret, something was changing inside her. A new perspective, perhaps, or just the recognition of a truth that had always been there, buried under layers of pain. For the first time in many years, Ariel allowed herself to think, maybe he was always good. He just got lost for a while. The thought, simple and profound, brought tears to her eyes, not tears of anger or resentment, but of recognition, of acceptance, of possibility. Forgiving didn't mean forgetting. It didn't erase the years of suffering, the sleepless nights worrying about bills, the days she barely had enough to feed her daughter. But maybe it meant making room for something new, to recognize that people make mistakes, terrible, painful mistakes, but can still find their way back. They can change. They can try to fix what they broke. From the reading room, the crystal-clear laughter of Ellie could be heard, followed by Liam's deeper voice, the sounds of a family reconnecting piece by piece, story by story. Ariel wiped away a single tear. The path to full reconciliation was still long, full of difficult conversations and painful memories. But maybe, just maybe, It had already begun. Winter gave way to spring. The days grew longer, warmer, bringing with them a sense of renewal that seemed to extend beyond nature, reaching the inhabitants of Liam Caudle's house as well. A routine had settled in with a naturalness that surprised everyone. Ariel continued her physical therapy sessions, now only twice a week. Her progress was consistent, a little stronger, a little more independent each day. She still used a cane for longer distances, but inside the house, she could now move with more confidence. Ellie had fully adapted. She attended a nearby private school, where she quickly made friends and impressed her teachers with her intelligence and creativity. The hardships of the past seemed increasingly distant to her, though she occasionally still had nightmares about the no-food days, as she called them. Liam had found a balance he never imagined possible. He still ran Caudle Enterprises, but he had delegated more responsibilities, reduced his hours at the office, and turned down long trips. When Richard and his lawyers questioned the change, Liam simply replied, "I have more important priorities now." On that particularly sunny Saturday morning, the three of them were having breakfast together on the porch. A gentle breeze swayed the light curtains, bringing the scent of freshly bloomed flowers from the garden. Ariel had made pancakes, her first attempt at cooking something elaborate since she had started regaining her strength. "These are delicious, Mommy," Ellie praised, her mouth full and a moustache of maple syrup on her lip. "Slow down, little one," Liam warned with a smile, handing her a napkin. "No one's going to steal your plate." Ariel watched the interaction between the two, still amazed at the easy bond they had formed. It was as if Liam was born to be an uncle, patient, attentive, balancing necessary firmness with a loving indulgence that made Ellie's eyes sparkle. "I'm going to draw after breakfast," Ellie announced, "and the teacher asked us to make a drawing about our family for the school's mural." "Great idea," Ariel agreed. "You can use those new pens Uncle Liam bought." Liam smiled, pleased that his gift was being appreciated. In the early days, he had overdone it, buying expensive toys and electronics that made Ariel uncomfortable. Over time, he learned that the simplest gifts, a set of colored pens, a book, quality time, were what truly mattered. After breakfast, Ellie ran to her room to work on her secret project, while Ariel and Liam remained on the porch, enjoying the quiet morning. "How's the pain today?" he asked, noticing she was lightly massaging her right shoulder. "Better. The new medication seems to be working well." Myasthenia gravis was still present. It always would be. The doctors had been clear about that. But with the right treatment, the disease was under control, allowing Ariel to lead an increasingly normal life. "I was thinking," Liam began, hesitant, "maybe you'd want to get back to your sewing work. We could set up a studio here at home with all the necessary equipment." Ariel looked at him, surprised. She had only mentioned this idea once, casually, weeks ago. "You remembered that?" "Of course, I did," he replied simply. "You've always had a talent. It would be a waste not to use it." Before she could answer, they were interrupted by the sound of hurried footsteps. Ellie came running back, holding a colorful piece of paper in her hands, her eyes shining with excitement. "Mommy, Uncle Liam, look what I made!" She held out the drawing, proud. It was made with colored pens and crayons, with that unmistakable charm of children's drawings. It showed three figures holding hands in front of a large house, a woman with dark hair, a smiling girl in the middle, and a tall man in a suit on the other side. Above, in colorful, uneven letters, was written, "Our family. Now we are all together." Ariel felt a lump in her throat. She ran her finger over the drawing, moved by the simplicity and depth of what she saw. For Ellie, there were no complications, old resentments, or poorly healed wounds. There was only this, three people who loved each other, finally united. Liam also seemed touched. He cleared his throat, hiding his emotion. "It's very beautiful, Ellie. You're an artist." "Can I put it on the fridge?" the girl asked, already bouncing with excitement. "Of course you can," Ariel replied, handing the drawing back. "Tonight's the perfect place for it." Instead of running to the kitchen, however, Ellie dropped the drawing on the table and, in an unexpected move, opened her arms and hugged them both at the same time, pulling them closer. "I love you guys," she declared with the pure honesty of children. Liam, a little awkward with displays of affection, returned the hug after a moment's hesitation. Ariel, in turn, wrapped her arm around her daughter, and Fuse, for the first time, didn't pull back when she felt her brother's arm touching hers. Instead, she stayed there in the warmth of that family hug, feeling something she hadn't experienced in a long time: belonging. "Dice, we love you too, little one," Liam murmured, his voice hoarse with emotion. When Ellie finally let them go and ran to the kitchen with her drawing, Ariel and Liam exchanged a look. No words were necessary. There was a mutual understanding that transcended anything they could express. The rest of the spring passed peacefully, giving way to a bright summer. Ariel's physical therapy sessions became more spaced out, and her progress continued to surprise the doctors. At a follow-up appointment, Dr. Martinez observed, impressed, "You are responding exceptionally well to the treatment, much better than most patients with your initial condition." "I have good reasons to get better," Ariel replied simply. That afternoon, as Dr. Martinez discussed medication adjustments with Liam, Ariel watched the city life outside the office window. People rushing, cars, life going on as normal. Less than a year ago, she was on the other side of that window, struggling to survive day by day, fearing for Ellie's future, carrying the weight of the world alone. Now, despite the chronic illness, she felt stronger than she had ever been. In the following weeks, Ariel began to work on her sewing project. Liam, true to his word, had set up a complete studio in the spare room next to hers, equipped with professional sewing machines, mannequins, quality fabrics, and everything else she could possibly need. At first, she only sewed for Ellie. Simple dresses, colorful skirts, small pieces that made her daughter feel special. Soon, however, the mothers of her school friends began to notice the clothes and ask where they had been purchased. "You could turn this into a business," Liam suggested one evening, as he watched Ariel work on a new design. "How exclusive, handmade children's clothes with quality materials. There's a huge market for that." Ariel hesitated, unsure. "I don't know if I'm ready for something like that." "You don't have to do it all at once," he replied. "Start small, just for Ellie's friends. If you like it, you can expand gradually." The idea planted itself in her mind. Maybe, over time, she could really build something of her own, not to compete with Liam's empire, but to regain the independence she had always valued. The summer wore on, bringing hot days and starry nights. On one particularly pleasant afternoon, Ariel decided to do her exercises in the garden, enjoying the mild late-day sun. Ellie was playing on the lawn, chasing soap bubbles that Mrs. Palmer was blowing for her. Her hair, longer now, danced in the wind as she twirled and jumped, her face lit by the sun and the pure joy of childhood. Ariel watched the scene, leaning on her cane. Following the physical therapist's instructions, she let go of the support and took a few careful steps. 1, 2, 3. Each unsupported step was still a small victory. She was so focused on the exercise that she didn't notice Liam approaching until he spoke. "You're doing very well." Ariel smiled, feeling proud of her progress. "A few more months and I might not even need the cane for short distances," she replied. They stood side by side, watching Ellie, who had now convinced Mrs. Palmer to play tag. The sound of childish laughter filled the air like music. "She's happy," Liam commented. "Yes, she is. Happier than I've seen her in a long time." A comfortable silence settled between them. It was no longer the tense silence of the first days at the hospital, nor the cautious silence of the first months of living together. It was the silence of two people who finally found peace in each other's presence. Suddenly, in a gesture that surprised them both, Liam reached out and took Ariel. "Thank you for letting me come back," he said, his voice low but full of emotion. Ariel looked at their joined hands, his strong hand holding hers, which still trembled occasionally. She didn't pull hers away. Instead, she took a deep breath and replied with equal sincerity, "Thank you for not giving up." Liam's eyes shone with an emotion he didn't try to hide. "Shaz, you two won't have to worry about anything," he stated with conviction. "I'll take care of you." In other times, Ariel would have rejected such a statement, interpreting it as control or superiority. But now, Knowing the new Liam, or perhaps the real Liam who had always existed beneath the executive's facade, she understood the promise for what it truly was, a commitment of love, not a demonstration of power. In that moment, Ariel believed him, not just the words, but the man who spoke them, the brother she had rediscovered, the family they were rebuilding. Ellie noticed them talking and ran towards them, her face flushed from playing, her eyes shining with happiness. "Mommy, Uncle Liam, come play with me." "Go on," Ariel encouraged, seeing Liam's hesitation. "I'll watch from here." He smiled, gently squeezed her hand before letting go, and ran to join his niece in the game. Soon, the always impeccable Liam Cordell had his hair disheveled and his shirt untucked, laughing like a boy as he tried to catch Ellie, who nimbly escaped. Ariel watched the scene with a full heart. How could life change so much in such a short time? How could such deep wounds begin to heal? How could fate turn a night of despair into a new beginning? On the horizon, the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the trees, creating a natural melody that mixed with the laughter of Ellie and Liam. The house that once seemed too big, too cold, was now filled with something that no expensive decoration could provide: love, forgiveness, hope, a second chance. As Liam pretended he couldn't catch Ellie, letting her slip through his fingers, his eyes met Ariel's for a brief moment. A smile formed between them, not the polite, distant smile of their first meetings, but a genuine, knowing, familiar smile. In that moment, he understood that he had found everything he had spent his life trying to buy: a family. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones.